Here we go, Mr. Stahl here, going to talk a little shop. Today is a difficult day that when I'm not here, what do we do and how do we become successful on a project where we still want to move forward? So I'm going to give you specific instructions, give you some hints today, and give you some information that's going to help your job be a little bit easier and make sure you stay out of trouble and you still get your work done. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk about our spaghetti serving utensil that we're working on. So far we have went ahead and cut the pieces of wood out on the table saw, and then we split them on the table saw, then we cut them to length on the chop saw. You then went ahead and traced your pattern on, and if you got a chance yesterday, you started to cut it out using the bandsaw. So today we're not using the tools because it's really difficult when there's someone here that's not me and I don't want something broke or misused or not used correctly, and especially when we're just getting started, it's just going to create too much stress on me, and I don't want anybody hurt. But I still want to keep you moving. And so one of the things on here, there's really two parts to this project, right? There's the base or the handle, and then there are these little pegs, all right? And so that's what we need to focus on today, and that's what I want you to finish today, and I want to show you what I want to do with those. So first off, if we count them, there are 8 of them, all right? So if you 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, so there's 8 total. So we need 8 of them in total. We need 8 of them 1.25 inches long. So 1 1/4, if you're familiar with that. So 1.25 inches, so 1 full inch and then 1/4 of the next. So it's really important that you cut them all about the same length. That's going to be really important. So we're going to do that by using a ruler, right? So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have some of these available to you, and you're going to go ahead, and when you get them, you're going to go ahead and you're going to measure 1.25 inches, and then take your pencil and leave a little mark. Now, once you cut one of them, as long as you cut it correctly, you can use that as your guide or your pattern, which is probably a good idea. That way you can cut them all the same, all right? So I have a little tiny mark on there that's 1.25 inches away from the end. And now, I'm gonna come over here. Now you guys are very familiar with these next 2 tools because we've done some projects with them. So the next tool I want you to use are these little miter boxes with the back saws that are familiar with. So you can use these today when I'm not here, and I'm fine with that. So we're gonna go ahead and where we left our little mark at, we're gonna go ahead and hold that tight there, and we're going to cut it off, okay? Right at that mark. So I'm gonna cut 8 of those, right? So I can go ahead now, and once I have one of them cut, all right, I can go ahead and leave the next mark there. Now, multiple people are going to have these miter boxes set up probably, so we're not just all cutting them at one spot. Someone wants to use their big brain for a second, they can go ahead and measure from the center line over and leave a little piece of tape there, and then you can just go ahead, like we kind of use the chop saw, just go in and keep marking them off and keep sliding them in. But I know not everyone can understand that, and so I don't want to confuse you. I just need to have you go ahead and cut, right, 8 1.25 inch pieces. So that's going to take some of your time up today, all right, to do that. Now, the next thing we need you to do, if you notice on this, right, these have a little bit of what we call a chamfer or a taper on the end of them. So they're rounded off, right? Now, because we're using such a small piece, there's not really a good tool in our classroom that can go about doing this. But there is something we know, right? And we know how to sand. So I'm going to leave some new sandpaper out, and we know that sandpaper is classified by its grit. The lower the number, the rougher the sandpaper is. The higher the number, the smoother the sandpaper is, or the smoother the finish is when we're done. So think about that for a second. If I have to remove a lot of material to round this off, probably a heavier piece of sandpaper or a heavier grit or a lower grit, right, is going to be a much better choice. It's going to get our job done a little bit quicker. So if you can find something around that 80, then it's going to be pretty good. I'll cut these up in smaller pieces. So you're going to go ahead, and you really don't even need a really big piece. You can go ahead and kind of roll this up, kind of put your piece inside there, and just kind of hang out at your table in the back and go ahead and start twisting these and start sanding them. Now it's going to take a little bit more than just 10 seconds on each one, but you're going to start rounding those edges down. Now, another way to do this, and I like this just as well, is to go ahead and find a sturdy spot where you can kind of hold with one hand. And if you're right-handed, you're going to take your right hand and you're going to kind of just go like this. And as we're going sideways and sanding this, we're going to kind of keep turning it. And I actually like this maybe even better. It's maybe, but what you have to be doing is make sure you keep turning it, because if we went in just one spot, then we're going to end up flat spotting them, right? Which means that we're going to have them flat on one side. We really want them kind of rounded. It's really what we're trying to accomplish. And I've seen this done really well, and I've seen it done really poorly when students do flat spot them or they just try to hustle. We want you, when you complete a project, we really want you to have a ton of pride in your work. We want you to be really happy with what you've finished. And when you're done, we want you to be like, hey, I built this, I worked on it, this is my project, I put the work into it, and it looks awesome because I'm the one that worked on it. So now you can see that I kind of have that taper on my piece, so it really looks pretty nice. Now, it's a little bit rough, and so now I can go ahead and go to a much smoother sandpaper. In this case, this is a 150. Even if you get into the 200s, I'm gonna do the same thing. All right, same thing here. And you can find something in the 200s to finish sand it. It's gonna be really awesome. So we need to do that to 8 of them, is eight of them, and make sure that they're all the same. So, I mean, I might spend a minute or two on these, give or take, by the time I cut them. And I might be going back and forth to make sure that they all look good. But it's not gonna take forever. And it's gonna take probably a good time of the hour, a good majority part of the hour by the time you do your warm up and watch this video. So that's okay. When you get done, right, the next thing we have to do is manage these pieces. How we're gonna make sure that these pieces don't get left all over the place. We lose them and then we come back and we have to do another one all over again because we've lost it. So again, here's one of those tips. Take a piece of tape, right, and go ahead and line them all up, all 8 of them, and then just fold your tape over like this. So they're all 8 of them are in a bunch, and then you can just put your name on it and put it in the cabinet next to your project. And that way they'll be there. And then on Monday, or whenever when I get back, which will be Monday, we'll continue to cut them out. We'll continue to sand them, and then we're gonna start focusing on drilling the holes, because that'll be another portion of our project. So lots of little pieces. So if you can accomplish that task while I'm not here on that Friday, we'll be in really good shape for this project. We're gonna keep continuing to go forward. It's a project that it's part of the project that has to be done. So we're not like losing or making something up just because I'm not here. So hopefully, your job is to understand self-control, make sure that you're respectful, make sure that you work hard, make sure you try to accomplish something so you're not behind when you come back, or when I come back. So do a great job, have a great weekend. Today's video is brought to you by Skill, not my favorite tool in my tool crib, but in a pinch, Skill tools will get the job done. They won't break your pocketbook, and they will get the job done, and they're not too bad. So, great job, and we will see you later.